Welcome everyone to Untold Stories, where twice a week we get to dive deep with some of crypto's most influential leaders to find out how this movement came to be. And if you're looking at me, I'm so excited. I'm in the new studio. I get two things. It's a great day for two reasons. I get to spend the next 40 minutes with my friend Adrian, CryptoBirb. Adrian, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It's awesome to be here, Charlie. How's it going?
The second reason I'm excited is because I'm in this brand new studio. I'm back with Wayne. For those who were listening to the earlier shows, you remember Wayne being our audio engineer, and then when COVID came, we had to go back to the home studio and everything, and the show kept going, but now we're back. We're in the studio again. We're ready to roll. We got everyone back together. Adrian, what is going on with Bitcoin right now?
It's a good question, man. I mean, it's going mad. It's going crazy. It's going nuts for the price, of course. As we speak, I have a chart, just open in front of me. There's like 17,163. So this is a big number that we've not seen since January or
I don't even remember the last time the price was 17,000.
Exactly, right? 3 years ago.
So this leads me to my question. You started the Birb Nest in 2017, so you've been through a few bull and bust cycles. You're a chemical engineer by trade and by study. You are, and we got to hang out in Las Vegas right before coronavirus hit, which was amazing. We got to talk about trading and crypto and Bitcoin, but those were different times, right? Like we were going through this bear market, and we just had come off this epic bull market. And as you know, that bull market was largely fueled by this these retail traders, these people buying, our friends, our uncles and aunts buying Bitcoin on places like Coinbase and owning the actual Bitcoin or the actual crypto in the ICO world. But the difference was they were owning the actual asset, the actual digital crypto asset. Nowadays, this bull run is largely fueled by this institutional world. And then I don't see a lot of retail traders, because the retail traders that are buying on places like PayPal, Robinhood, Square, Cash App, but they're not getting the actual asset. They're getting like a derivative of, or like PayPal's version of Bitcoin, right? Like in an Excel spreadsheet. So that's kind of like what I want to know. You run the Birb Nest. You're talking to all these traders all the time. You're educating people. You're on the front lines talking to like thousands of people every single day, people that are buying and selling all sorts of cryptos. So like when I'm asking you like what's going on with Bitcoin, my question is deeper than that. It's like, really, what is going on in the innards right now? Where are the retail traders there? What are the institutional traders doing? Are people talking about owning the actual asset? That's kind of like what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I mean, there is not a single doubt that Bitcoin is going nuts. The crypto is going nuts. It's not only fully recovered, from the market crash in March, from the black swan of COVID, right, pandemic. It's actually gone way, way, way higher than this already, right? So the crash itself that happened in March, from 8,800 down to 3,800 for Bitcoin. I mean, this was such an amazing buying opportunity, but it just whenever I kind of like circle back, with my memories, with my some thoughts back then to when it was happening. I mean, first of all, I'm very happy that I didn't sell a single tiny bit of Bitcoin that I had. So I'm already just against, what it was for the price, back, half a year ago. There's entirely like 50% premium.
Before you get to the premium, are you not selling Bitcoin because now with the infrastructure you're able to like borrow against it, or simply because you never just wanted to sell Bitcoin?
No. That's what I said. I mean, in March, there was of course like this depressive movement. I is a certified technical trader. For the analyst. Certified technical analyst. I need to look at the price and what's going on in the markets, just from the perspective of the technical analysis and the emotions that people assign to certain prices, right? So the market cycles that move between, that oscillate from the bottom, the depression that people fear extremely a lot, right? Feel like extreme fear, and to the opposite edge of extreme euphoria, which is sort of like going on right now when Bitcoin goes vertical. This is very typical to Bitcoin to go vertical like that when people are euphoric. So what happened in March? It was actually like a massive shakeout, and it was a massive shakeout, especially.
25% the
Um,
price dropped in like one day or something like that.
yeah, it was not even one day. It was a couple of hours. I was
Oh
watching
yeah.
live, right, when the price was tanking from 800 to 32,
It's like watching
800. So
torture.
yeah, it was crazy, right? So I felt like Leo DiCaprio, this Wolf of Wall Street,
Yeah.
uh, and this movie, just that it was like, I'm not fucking leaving, I'm not fucking quitting, like it was in the movie. I love this movie, by the way.
Thank you.
So it just felt like that, and I this turned out to be an amazing decision, of course, for staying. And what I think is very different, you kind of like refer to what happened, back in 2017 when all the uncles and aunties and everybody was just buying, grandmas and grandmas dogs and grandmas dogs goldfishes, and everybody was buying. Uh, this is sort of like different right now, and that's what we call the market structure, right? And the entire demography, is sort of like different right now. It's sort of like
That's what I
different
was
because
getting at. The demography, perfect word. So like, Ari Paul was tweeting about it today. I was talking on a hedge fund call yesterday with some people about it. But the group of like hardcore, anarchists is one group. Then you have the group of builders and coders and developers and people that are passionate. Those groups are still growing, but they're different. I think what's happening now is that just for the same reason that Bitcoin is exploding and the mainstream media isn't even like hyping it up for us. I think they're different types of people now in crypto, and it's more, but it's different. It's smarter. What type of demographics are you seeing also?
yeah, I mean, so again, the demographics, right? Demography that is actually standing behind any market, not only crypto, but when you compare, the demography that is behind, let's say, commodity market like oat, just wheat or some corn, whatever. This is definitely different market structure, different market demography than when you compare that with crypto. The average age of a trader, is just way lower for crypto, right? And this again brings more emotional, I would say, responses that come from lack of knowledge and lack of experience. So it makes people more emotional, more irrational, and which empowers the bubbles, right? The
Yeah.
bubbles, like the one that is actually just happening now with Bitcoin. I mean, let's face the truth, right? When chart goes vertical, this is nothing else but a bubble. Okay, there's not a single point about it. And this doesn't happen so often in other markets that are more steady, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So again, the demography is what consists and creates the bubbles, and what we are looking at right now is another bubble after 2017, and chart of Bitcoin just goes vertical. I have the same just feelings, I had in 2017 when it was going vertical. Now, with this difference that, if you recall what I was saying more than a year ago on a stage, on Crypto IQ stage in Las Vegas,
In Las
I was actually
Vegas.
talking about, all-time highs that were coming. And it's just being in a process right now 1 year after. So it was an amazing experience to be on the stage and actually, to a large extent, predict what's happening with quite a good accuracy. At least that's what I say.
Yeah, no, and it's right. I mean, if you look at the chart that's pinned to your Twitter profile, you can check crypto_Birb. That chart just goes up to like 10,400. But you posted it back in February, and it kind of very accurately showed how things will happen, but from a very technical point of view. So a lot of people are telling me, Charlie, is this the bubble? But I'm really asking you, is this really just technical analysis playing itself out?
Of course not. Of course not. TA, technical analysis, is a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm,
Okay, there is of course some Fibonacci magic to that you can find, different Fibonacci ratios and Fibonacci sequence numbers that you can find, like in the snail shells or just like in the nature, right, of the way that people are constructed and built biologically. So there are different like ratios, mathematical formulas that all correspond with the Fibonacci sequence. And so this is like a sequence mathematical formula that is kind of like built in the universe and also in the financial markets, right? So which is why technical traders often use Fibonacci ratios in trading for expecting, certain like reversal points, pivot points. But at the same time, again, when you add this sort of like a mathematical magic that just exists in the universe for some reason, and mix it and combine it with the self-fulfilling prophecy, then all of a sudden you have technical analysis. And this
yeah.
is actually very, very interesting to just learn, where it comes from. and this comes from behavioral finance. I mean, this is very good describing, just piece to that, because human brain is kind of like rewarded with dopamine, with the hormone of happiness, for recognizing patterns in general. When you spot a pattern, when you spot some geometric shape that you've known before, okay, then your brain kind of like rewards your body with dopamine, and this is of course becoming addictive, and your body just gets pumped up, happy and everything. So it empowers us as people to seeing patterns everywhere, right? And this is what makes this pattern just exist. So like a black cat,
like
just crossing the
chess.
road, right?
Like really good chess
Yeah.
players are ones that can see the patterns and then see like the next steps or the different outlays faster than normal people can, because their brains just are wired differently. Like a lot of people are watching the Queen's Gambit right now. She had to like increase her amount of dopamine in order to be able to see the patterns on the ceiling of chess. And it's an amazing TV show. We just binged it. It's like 7 episodes or something. The Queen's Gambit.
Don't spoil too much. I'm yet to go.
No, you have to watch it. It's unbelievable.
I know.
But I'm really happy that you said something that so the Fibonacci sequence, I have to be honest with you, it's one of these things, even 10 years later, I still don't feel like I have a full grasp of it, and there are parts missing, and maybe we can dive into that a little bit. The question that I have about that is that so in school when I was younger, I learned that there's this thing called the Fibonacci sequence, and essentially it's a universal mathematical formula that when you pick up a seashell on the floor, or you look at a flower, or you look at stars, or even you look at the constellations in the sky, you look at everything, and there's this pattern, that a mathematical pattern that will always the integrity of it has never been broken. This mathematical pattern has always been proven to exist, and anyone who Googles it right now knows what I'm talking about. It's a very basic thing, but I still don't understand who discovered it, in what context, why, and how it got I'm confused. Talk to me.
That's fine. So I assume that the inventor, the discoverer, for the Fibonacci sequence was nobody else but Fibonacci,
Yes.
right? A guy named Fibonacci. And that's what you're saying. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci, I wanted to say Leonardo DiCaprio, by the way, Leonardo da Vinci back, just discovered, actually just working on his famous works and paintings and everything. There's this picture of a human kind of body, and the proportions and everything. And this corresponds directly with the Fibonacci sequence already, right?
Oh, so in his book,
for a long time. Yeah, exactly. It was known for a long time already. And again, Fibonacci sequences itself, again, I'm not a mathematical, let's say, person. More, I'm a chemical technology engineer, so I did have some maths, right? But I'm not a math expert for sure. But the Fibonacci sequence just is so unique because it corresponds directly and involves only something that we call, let me just check if it's called in the direct translation, first digits.
Yes,
I'm not sure.
Similar to pi.
Yeah, perhaps. So prime numbers, that's what you call that, right? Prime numbers. So this is a kind of like a sequence, which is a chain of values, of numbers, of digits. That one after another, there's always a prime number that consists of the sum of the past two, right? So there is one to start with, okay? But before one there was 0, there's nothing. So 1 plus 0 equals 1. So there's 1, 1. Then you have the sum of 1, 1, which is 2. Then you have the sum of 2,
1 is 3, and 3, and so 2, so 5. So that's
the ratio.
Okay, and the ratio,
them,
yeah.
Exactly. The ratio between them is called the golden ratio. And this is always the ratio of two, how we call that, successive numbers, right? The Fibonacci sequence. The ratio one to another, one divided by another is always Fibonacci ratio, golden ratio of 1, 0.0616. Yeah.
I'm really excited when I get to talk about projects and companies that have been around since the early days of crypto and supporting those projects. in many parts of the world, banking services simply haven't advanced at the same rate as the adoptions of smartphones and the internet. Africa, Southeast Asia, they're skipping entire financial services over. They're skipping people over, and they're not even building out that infrastructure until cryptocurrency. We all know this. We've been hearing about it for so long. Electroneum, a company based in the UK, decided to build an entire ecosystem based off of financial inclusion, empowering people, getting them involved, not just by working and by earning, but also by spending and being part of that community. Anytask.com is a company that's powered by Electroneum, over 500,000 users, and you have the ability to do all these freelance projects, earn money, earn their tokens, and not only just earn ETN, but also be able to spend it on all these different things. What's crazy is that, and what's crazy good is that Anytask is attracting not just crypto people, but actual talented freelancers that are willing to take ETN in return for doing all this work. It's literally created this whole ecosystem. And the thing is, it's not been just like a new novel idea. It's been around for a while. They're doing it. They're growing every single day. They're doing millions of dollars in transactions. You got thousands and thousands of different people on the platform offering different services. And you should go check it out. It's so cool. The staff are great. The people are great. Everyone on the platform is so cool. According to ETN Everywhere, their official merchant directory, ETN can be spent in over, I think it's 2,000 physical locations and online locations worldwide. You're talking about in 140 countries, mobile airtime, shops, TVs, all these different things, not just being able to spend it. And so check them out, Electroneum, Anytask.com. Support my sponsors. They're so cool, and I'm excited for you guys to check it out. So if I give you a random, very large number, and I say to you, can you break this down to its smallest primes or to its two smallest primes? That's essentially what Bitcoin mining is. Because we know, based on the Fibonacci sequence, we know, based on the mathematical formula that exists for thousands of years, we can predict computing power. And we could predict based on how much computing power we have, because we've attached computing power to brain processing power to even things like horsepower. Because we know that, and we know the Fibonacci sequence, we can, with fair accuracy, and this is the Satoshi invention, he was able to say, this is what the difficulty ratio is. And when people are mining Bitcoin, all they're really doing is based on a predefined number, a predefined difficulty, breaking a number down to its lowest primes. And this is what brute forcing, passwords is. At the same time, it's just trying as many combinations as you can. And we know how long it takes computers or our brains to do that. You can do it by hand. Our computers can do it faster. It's the same reason why you can mine Bitcoin on laptops back then. And now and then you could use video cards because they process faster. And then now you use these application-specific integrated circuit machines because they can process faster than anything else. And all they're doing is checking those large numbers for the smallest primes. And when a miner finds one, that's when he gets the block. And so it's very much a lottery system still, because there's no way to know how close you are to finding the result until you actually find the results. That's why Satoshi was so brilliant when he created Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting, just hearing that from you, from your mouth, because, I'm always a big fan of yours. And, I've heard so many, I've seen so many materials, so many documents, of your early, how should I say, beginnings, the origins of your just interest of the Bitcoin itself. And I think that's brilliant. And you as an OG, as an old guardian, this entire industry as a crypto as it is, I mean, it's very interesting to hear that from you. And, again, I'm not an IT spec, right? I'm not an IT a specialist for sure. But what I can say instead, right, is I can briefly refer to what you said about the predicting the computational power. I think there is a point that is actually also one of the civilizational growth measures that is called singularity, right? And the singularity itself as a phenomenon, both technologically and civilizationally, is a phenomenon that actually just relies on on the situation that we are not able to predict the computational power anymore. So this is like the moment that the technology goes and evolves so fast that any sort of like our predictions, any predictions that we can use in the build of the models that we've known so far, are not going to matter anymore, because this is going to be growing so fast because of the artificial intelligence that we will not be able to catch up with that.
So that's what singularity is? That's how we connect it all together? So essentially, when computers can figure out how to hash large numbers faster than we can think that they can, that's when we've reached the singularity.
Exactly.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I mean, partially, right? Because this is actually more from the economic point of view, that says, this is a stage of a development for civilization, for economy, that costs of technology dropped so drastically that production of technology becomes so cheap that it just goes exponential and faster and faster, just faster and faster. And the more we try to analyze, the growth with our old methods, with our old models, the more outdated it becomes to some sort of like extent, right? So this is a technological phenomenon, and at the same time, economic phenomenon, because all of a sudden we will wake up to a world that artificial intelligence is, let's say, intelligent enough, right, to be equal to human brains. That's what sort of like it is all about as well, to some extent.
Is there a fear that Bitcoin will faster, or crypto in general can faster bring about the singularity? And I could ask you like more specifically why if you want, but what are your thoughts on that?
That's a good one.
Well, so while you're thinking, I'll say this. I'll say, so another, and it's funny that you mentioned OG, old guard. I'm going to old guard. I'm going to use that instead, because I don't like the term OG, because I always like original gangster. Like, I'm from Brooklyn, so it's what I thought it was. Yeah, I didn't know what an old guard. I never heard anyone use the word old guard before. I literally, till this minute, thought OG stood for original gangster. Because I don't know. I grew up on Jay-Z. What do you want me to tell you?
Oh, no.
Okay, so on that note, like what Satoshi did was, another thing that he did was he economized it. He created an economic incentive for environmentalists, and I'll get to that in a second, because he basically created the race for the most efficient and green energy. Until now, climate change was as a back burner. Now we have an economic incentive to have faster and cleaner energy. Satoshi should be given the Nobel Peace Prize for probably saving the Earth on an environmental aspect of it. And I get letters from environmentalists all day telling me I'm an idiot. Well, I'm gonna tell you, you're an idiot, not you, Adrian, but environmentalists. And I'll argue with you guys and fight with you any day on this, like seriously. But the other thing that he did, which I'm kind of scared of, which he economically, so for hundreds of years or dozens of years or whatever, hackers have always been trying to break into computers because they're economically incentivized to do so. As much as Bitcoin grows greater, the only way to really break or hack Bitcoin is to achieve the singularity. Because that's the only other way to do it is if you have 51% of the computing power of the whole Bitcoin network as a whole. And the supercomputer doesn't exist to do that. A quantum computer won't really be able to do that, because the quantum computers and the ASICs that will be developed that will join the network beforehand will be able to achieve that. The only way is if we achieve the singularity, where the processing is faster than we think. The difficulty ratio the difficulty algorithm on Bitcoin won't be able to keep up. And someone will be able to come in a singularity and come in and mine Bitcoin 100%, effectively breaking Bitcoin. That's the fear. And the fear is that they're economically incentivized to do so now, because Bitcoin keeps growing $1 trillion soon, crypto in general. So like, that's kind of scary. Now I say it out loud.
Scary. I would say, depends on which side you are, right? I personally, not only perceive Bitcoin as a way, to hedge, like for as an instrument, as an asset to hedge, against the inflationary effect of these central banks. Okay, because central banks want us to kind of like just pay for the inflation. They can just print unlimited amount of money, just propose a quantitative easing just as much as they want to print in every just debt that they generate because of, I don't know, elections or whatever, right? There always needs to be some funding for the campaigns and everything. So central banks can easily just print it, right? And then just pretend like it's never happened. When you try to print it, or when I try to print it, they would put my ass to jail, right? But when politicians do that, it's all of a sudden all good. And so it stands opposed to central bank's policy, right? It stands opposed to this corrupted central bank inflationary policy for the monetary, like just direction. Because it's deflationary model for Bitcoin, just what Satoshi did, as you said. The tokenomics of that is that it's circulating supply also, like, I mean, it has its end, right? There's no going to be more Bitcoins that ever mined than the 21 million number, right? And that's the point, right? So we are talking about the scarcity of an asset that grows over the time. And which means that if the scarcity grows over the time, the price should follow as well, because that's the nature of the economics, right? So Bitcoin itself is a very interesting, mathematical formula as well, right? Because the mining and everything, all the just how we call that, like this entire hacking, mining, just
there's no
right?
like word for it. Like I kind of call it like the incentive trifecta, like how the miners, the economic incentive, the miner incentive, the integrity incentive, the social incentive is all kind of tied into one checks and balances situation. Exactly. I don't really know what the word is for it.
Exactly, right? And this is, what we're seeing right now is exactly, again, back what I was saying on the stage in Las Vegas. I remember that very well. I was saying about cyclicality, like this fact of Bitcoin being cyclical, right? And just the market cycles that occur. And we, since that ever was concepted, we've had 4 market bottoms, but only 3 peaks. And every peak we've had so far was a new all-time high on a major scale, right? So technically speaking, again, we are kind of like just predestined to go to all-time high way than ever. And now the economic recession, it just corresponds perfectly with what conditions, in Bitcoin was released. It was released as an answer to 2 weeks after the Lehman Brothers bank collapse, that the entire housing bubble bursted, that entire economic recession kicked in. And now we are, boom, 12 years later, we're in the same place. And Bitcoin is passing the test perfectly.
It really is such a, like every day that Bitcoin and crypto, like as a whole, because it's not, there are a lot of other projects, coins and tokens that you and I like that are on that, like the path to decentralization and are doing the experimental work on the further like technical adoption of this like budding industry that we're in. But it's kind of crazy that every day we exist is further, not just validation, but it's further proof of our existence because it's such a small, like these small times. Adrian, what goes on at the Birb Nest? It's been running for a few years. You have a lot of loyal fans, a lot of people. People have asked me questions like, ask Adrian, what he wish he knew before he started investing. People that really want to know your education and your knowledge. Are those the type of things that go on there?
Yeah, I mean, so, the Birb Nest as it is, as a brand, and that I founded in 2017, is from the very beginning, has always been oriented for education, right? It has always been oriented towards educating those who actually need it. And by those who need it, I mean everybody who is actively investing in crypto. Because guess what? When people have no idea what they're doing with their hard-earned money and lifetime savings and loans and borrowings and everything, they would just pour in everything and buy the perfect top, because that's how the market cycles are constructed, right? So, again, if there are some taxi drivers or Uber drivers, so I don't know, like cashiers, just the shop. Again, no offense to anybody, this is all beautiful job and service to the people. When they start talking about Bitcoin, or that they just bought Bitcoin, well, practically, I need to say, okay, that's the time to sell, because it means that the mainstream was reached.
But those people aren't talking about it yet, though.
That's exactly what I wanted to touch upon, right? So it means that we are not at the stage of the sentiment, like the sentiment of a crowd that we had in 2017, which brought us 20K. So I think we are basically going way behind it. Right? I mean, way. Actually, I should say way fatter, right? Way longer. And when it comes to all-time highs, for my predictions, I actually did quite a comprehensive cheat sheet, recently in my Twitter, that just gives a number such as 26,000, 30,000, 46,000, okay, as the potential exponential development for the trend and the all-time highs for Bitcoin. Will it reach 1 million per Bitcoin? Honestly, I'm not certain about it. Okay, I would rather just approach it realistically. And
Yeah,
apart from
I'm a big fan
believing in
of
the
that.
technology itself, was that?
I mean, I'm a big fan of that. I agree with you. And I would love to see us like go above 20,000 and just kind of sit there for a few weeks or months. Like the longer we sit above our previous all-time high, it's like a rocket pad. It's like a rocket launcher that starts higher in the sky. I'm wearing a NASA shirt. Failure is not an option. I just got to watch the SpaceX rocket 2 nights ago live.
I know.
It was unbelievable, bro. Adrian.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Really, 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 thank you for so much for coming on the show today and testing out the new studio with me. We'll get you on a part 2. For everyone who wants to follow the Birb Nest and Adrian, it's twitter.com, crypto_Birb, right? Boom.
Yes, it is.
And everyone can follow you. I hope to see you again soon and visit you over there in Europe. Honestly, I don't even want you to come here. I want to come visit you over there. Poland's my favorite country, and I can't wait. I know. I'm trying. I'll see you soon, my friend. Thank you.
That's crazy.
I'll see you soon.
I appreciate the show. Thanks, sir.